Namaste, Theok here. In this video blog, I would like to talk about the history of Buddha. We all know Gautama the Buddha as the founder of Buddhism. He was born in a royal family as a prince, and he left his wife and child in the middle of the night after he witnessed an old man, deceased man and corpse. Then he sat under the Bodhi tree and he attained enlightenment. That's all we know. But there is a biography of Buddha. It is called Buddhacharita, written by Ashvagosha. When I read that, and there are also some other accounts, there were various aspects of Gautama's life which came to the fore. I was very intrigued by those, and I would like to share those details in this video blog. First, when the young child was born, he was named Siddhartha by the king, and a seer visits the palace and he sees the child, and he gives a prediction that this child will become a great sage in the future. So the king, being the king, he was so delighted having a son as his progeny, but hearing that he will be a monk or a sage, he was aghast. He didn't want his son to go that way. He wanted him to rule the kingdom after him. So he brings him up in the palace, separate place for him. Everything is provided for him, and without any sort of negative influences, he is brought up. And one fine day, the prince he gets married and he has a kid, Rahula, a son, Rahula. And one fine day, the prince wants to visit the nearby forest, and the king makes adequate arrangement, removing whatever he feels as a negative influence from the pathway, and showing the path with flowers, and arranging for dances and games and all that on the pathway. The prince goes to the forest, but even after all these arrangements, the prince witnesses an old man. And in subsequent visits, he sees a deceased man and then a corpse. That's how the question of life and birth and old age comes to this young prince Siddhartha. He has serious questions, and then one day when he goes out to the forest again, he meets a beggar. The beggar is not someone who is begging for his food, but person, he's a mendicant on a spiritual path. He explains that to young Siddhartha, and Siddhartha is so intrigued by that. He wants to go down the same path. So he goes to his father, the king, and asks his permission for the same. The king refuses and puts up extra security and ensures that Siddhartha is living in the palace. But Siddhartha's mind is set, so Siddhartha wakes up at the middle of night when everyone is sleeping. He calls his servant and brings to bring his horse, and he goes on the horseback along with his servant to the nearest forest. In the forest, he asks the servant to return to the palace with his horse and tell his decision to everyone. He then goes on his spiritual journey by foot, and he reaches a small hermitage. In that ashram, there are various yogis practicing various forms of tapas. Siddhartha stays with them. He learns their procedures and practices it. But his quest for ultimate truth or mukti or liberation is not satisfied from whatever they were doing. So he leaves them, and he moves on in his own path. On the path, he meets a Brahman. The Brahman says to Siddhartha that he should visit sage Arada. So Arada can help him in his pathway to the liberation. That's what the Brahman says. So Gautama Siddhartha goes in search of sage Arada. Meanwhile, the servant has returned to the palace, and the people in the palace, the ministers and the soldiers, they get to know where Siddhartha went, and they come out in search of him. They meet Bhargava the Brahman, and he, along with the soldiers, goes in search of Gautama again, and they meet Gautama at some forest. They sit down and talk to him, ask him to return to the palace, saying the king is aghast, and the queen is also so worried, like a cow losing her calf. And also the wife and children are waiting and eagerly waiting his return. But Siddhartha is not perturbed by that. He says his decision is final, and he will not set foot in his native place without knowing the ultimate truth, which he is seeking. That's his decision. After this firm decision, Siddhartha walks his own pathway, and the people return to the palace. So Siddhartha crosses the Ganges and come to the neighboring kingdom of Magadha. There the king of Magadha, Bimbisara, the father of Ajatasattu, he meets Gautama, and then he gets to know about his Gautama Siddhartha's decision of leaving the palace. He says, if you are in any anger against your fathers, that's why if you have left, please take half of my kingdom and you can rule that, if you don't want to return to your place, but don't be like a wanderer. Then Siddhartha speaks to him about all his quest for knowledge, the ultimate truth, and explains to him what is illusion, and what is the reality, and what are the questions in him. And he is very firm in his decision that he is seeking the ultimate truth. So the king returns, and Siddhartha goes on his way and finds sage Arada, and stays in his ashram. He has deep discussions with the sage Arada. Sage teaches him many things, and he practices them, but he realizes that is not the ultimate truth that he is seeking. So after some time, he leaves sage Arada's ashram, and he goes to another yogi called Rudraka. Rudraka also teaches him some practices, and Siddhartha follows up with those things. Still, he realizes it's not the ultimate that he is seeking. It is said that during this period of search, Gautama Siddhartha went into 8 different types of samadhi and discarded everything as was not the ultimate. Then he goes on his own seeking the ultimate truth, and seeing his very severe austerities, 5 other mendicants join him. They are also on the path of seeking. They join him, and everyone together goes on severe austerities and seeking. Siddhartha was especially very severe. For 6 years, he ignores food. It is said that he was into certain type of sadhana where he will not ask for food. Only if someone provides him food, then he will have it. That was the sort of severity he was practicing, and he keeps on this for 6 years. And one day, all of them are near the banks of the river Niranjana, and Siddhartha realizes that he has been searching everywhere for the ultimate truth, and he is tortured his body to way too much, but what he is seeking is within himself. So with this, he sits under a Bodhi tree. He decides, today I will not move from this place until I see the truth that I am seeking. With that firm determination, he sits down under the Bodhi tree, and he attains. It is said that he gets enlightenment under that Bodhi tree. And at the same time, there is a girl who is the daughter of the local chief. Her name is Nandabala. She offers some milk to Siddhartha. Siddhartha, having been without much food for a long time and under severe torture of his body. He, now that he has attained, he just accepts that milk and he drinks it. Seeing this, the other five mendicants who are with him think that that's it, this guy is back to the worldly ways, he is not a true seeker, and they move away from him. Siddhartha is left alone, but now he is Gautama the Buddha. He is left alone, but he keeps on whatever he realized, he keeps on taking that to all the population. We know this is the story that we have all heard. His influence after 2500 years, it's still very strong. He was a very great being. One thing is the statues that we see of him. Most of the statues are like with him with a plump body and everything. But I came across a photo of him with very skinny body. The bones, rib cages are visible. The cheeks are very skinny. Such a photo when I came across, photo of a statue. When I came across this, I was intrigued. That's when I decided to dig deeper into his history, and I got to know about this unknown part of Buddha's life through Buddhacharita and other myths. So if you like this, please like the video and also give your comments in the comment section. Subscribe if you would like, and we will come up with more videos. Thank you. Namaskar.